Talk show Sound Opinions at 10. So that's your new Saturday night lineup here on KUT 90.5. The weather forecast calls for partly cloudy skies tonight, lows around 70. Tomorrow there's a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, and highs in the upper 80s. It's 4:30.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Kelly McEvers. Coming up, Donald Trump and eminent domain and how he tried to use it.
It was absolutely outrageous to be taking a woman's home for a casino limousine parking lot.
His GOP opponents keep bringing it up.
First News. From NPR News in Washington, I'm Nancy Lyons. The fire chief in Seattle says 4 people were killed in a crash involving a charter bus and an amphibious tour vehicle. Patricia Murphy of member station KUOW in Seattle says 12 others were critically injured.
The bridge where the crash occurred has been shut down as investigators and emergency workers try to contain the scene. The amphibious military-style vehicle involved in the crash is part of a tour company called Ride the Ducks. It's a popular tourist attraction. The vehicles are known for exuberant drivers and tour guides who play loud music and quack through megaphones as they ride around the city streets and waterways. The most seriously injured were on board the charter bus, which was transporting foreign students. For NPR News, I'm Patricia Murphy in Seattle.
It's been another historic day in Washington, D.C., with Pope Francis addressing Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the Pope of the Holy See.
Francis showed his appreciation for being the first pope to speak on Capitol Hill.
I am most grateful for your invitation to address this joint session of Congress in the land of the free at the home of the brave.
He's now in New York City, where tomorrow he'll speak to the UN General Assembly. On Wall Street, modest losses across the board, with the Dow losing 78 points. This is NPR. Volkswagen says Matthias Müller, the head of its Porsche division, will take over as chief executive following this week's resignation of CEO Martin Winterkorn. Winterkorn stepped down after the company admitted to installing software on 11 million diesel vehicles to conceal their true emissions. The company's stock has fallen as much as 40% since last Friday. This is NPR News.
With KUT News in Austin, I'm Nathan Bernier. The suspect in the deadly crash at South by Southwest in 2014 has pleaded not guilty to charges of murder and capital murder. Authorities say Rashad Owens was intoxicated and accelerated through a festival crowd in March 2014, killing 4 people, injuring more than 20 others. This was on Red River Street. A testimony in his trial is scheduled to begin November 2nd. The University of Texas System Board of Regents unanimously approved a settlement agreement today with UT Austin's former men's athletics director Steve Patterson. Only university athletic funds will be used toward the undisclosed settlement. The Austin American-Statesman cites an anonymous source who says the settlement is a year of Patterson's salary, $1.4 million the first year, and a full salary in the second year minus any money he makes from a new job. Patterson resigned last week after 22 months on the job. UT Austin President Greg Fenves named Houston attorney and former Longhorns linebacker Mike Perrin as his temporary replacement. The Memorial Day flooding could put the brakes on some developments in San Marcos. And that's because FEMA is expected to release its draft of a new floodplain map for the city this month. And that map will depict a higher floodplain, putting more property in the potential flood zone. Jordan Gass-Poore reports.
The developer Vigilant Associates wants to create a large industrial development in San Marcos, but the company may be forced to change its plan. The site is more than 116 acres in size. It's known as the Blanco Riverwalk, and it lies between I-35 and the Blanco River. Robert McDonald with Vigilant Associates says this year's Memorial Day floods didn't affect the site.
There was no water above the ridge on Blanco Riverwalk at all. The water, once it hit the interstate on our track on the other side, was significant on our 216 acres on the east side, but there was no water above the ridge on Blanco Riverwalk as of the morning after the flood.
San Marcos Planning and Zoning Commissioners say the city can't require developers to stop construction until the new floodplain map is released. Jordan Gass-Poore, KUT News.
The Texas drought is creeping back across the state. 30% of Texas is experiencing drought this week, according to the latest reading from the U.S. Drought Monitor. That's up from 27% last week. The worst affected areas are in East Texas. Most of Travis County is under moderate drought right now. Meanwhile, the lakes that supply Austin with water, Travis and Buchanan, are 73% full. And on August 1st, they were 78% full. This is KUT.
Support for NPR comes from NPR member stations and from America's Natural Gas. Learn how Georgia Power reduced emissions at its power plant using natural gas. Thinkaboutit.org. From Carbonite, providing secure backup and recovery for businesses and homes. Since 2005, Carbonite has backed up more than 500 billion files, from email servers to family photos. Learn more at carbonite.com. And from the estate of Miles Gatterman, whose bequest is a tribute to NPR's ongoing dedication to music and the arts.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Kelly McEvers.
And I'm Ari Shapiro. Pope Francis continues his American tour. He's just landed in New York to cheers and waving flags and a band playing New York, New York.
We are called to defend and preserve the dignity of your fellow citizens in the tireless and demanding pursuit of the common good.
That was the Pope speaking to Congress, where he called them to action on immigration, climate change, and the death penalty, and also urged lawmakers to cooperate.
And now on to New York and the second leg of his visit to America. NPR's Sylvia Poggioli is traveling with the Pope. She joins us from the tarmac at JFK. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi there, Ari.
Describe the scene there. Crowds, bands, cheering. What are you seeing?
Oh, well, the first thing, as you said, it was the band playing New York, New York. The Pope was greeted by local authorities, the governor, the mayor, like he's been greeting people, shaking hands. You see a lot of cardinals and bishops on the tarmac. And the helicopters are already preparing to take him to Manhattan. And it's a noisy and very colorful scene right now.
As you say, the helicopters are ready to take him to Manhattan. We should explain to people who are not New Yorkers that JFK is not on the island of Manhattan, which is where he's heading next. So far on this trip, the Pope has not shied away from contentious issues. As we heard, he spoke to Congress at the Capitol today, where he talked about immigration, something Congress has failed to address. Describe what he said and how it was received.
Well, you know what he did? First of all, he said, I come to speak to you as the son of an immigrant. And he said, I'm also a brother. He said, because I come also from this land, from the Americas. And he said to Americans, he said, please don't be taken aback by the numbers, the thousands of people who march north to seeking better opportunities for their lives. He said, please look at each one as a person. Look at their faces, listen to their voices. You have to understand that for Pope Francis, the Argentine Bergoglio, the son of Italian immigrants, immigration is a positive thing. He thinks it contributes to society, nations grow. He says it's something that should not be disdained. He got a lot of applause.
He also spoke about abolishing the death penalty, ending the arms trade. He spoke about climate change, but now he is in New York, the latest stop on this American tour. What is on his agenda there?
Well, tomorrow he gives a speech to the General Assembly of the United Nations. We expect he will again address the environment, which is one of his the issues he's very passionate about. Also, in view of an important climate change conference in Paris at the end of the year, he will probably urge world leaders to finally reach an agreement on setting guidelines for to limit greenhouse gases and global warming.
That's NPR's Sylvia Poggioli speaking with us from her cell phone in New York, where the Pope has just landed. You can hear the band behind her. New York City is the latest stop on the Pope's American tour. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Ari.
When a pregnant woman is getting an ultrasound, a partner might be in the room, along with a medical technician. In an exam room in South Carolina today, there were also reporters and former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina. The Republican presidential candidate has doubled down on her opposition to abortion and went to a place that's becoming a popular campaign stop. NPR's Sarah McCammon takes us there.
The Carolina Pregnancy Center is a Christian-run organization in Spartanburg, South Carolina, whose leaders oppose abortion. 31-year-old Lacey Thomas is expecting a baby boy next February. She was there today for an ultrasound, and Carly Fiorina stood by her side.
Look at that. Is this your first one?
This is my second. I had the girl the first time. This is the boy.
Thomas has agreed to let Dr. Mary Haddad demonstrate the procedure for Fiorina.
So her baby looks great. Would anyone like to hear the heartbeat?
I would love to hear the heartbeat.
Around the corner, Fiorina praises the center's work and tells a crowd it's hypocritical for liberals to support environmental protections for wildlife while also supporting abortion rights.
They are perfectly prepared to destroy other people's jobs and livelihoods and communities in order to protect fish and frogs and flies, but they do not think a 17-week-old, a 20-week-old, a 24-week-old is worth saving.
For Lacey Thomas, the expectant mom who let Fiorina watch her ultrasound, the campaign is mostly a lot of noise right now.
I don't know much about her except that she's a Republican candidate, and I looked that up yesterday.
Thomas meets monthly with her mentor here, volunteer Linda Earnhardt. The stay-at-home mother of 5 is following the campaign. Earnhardt was impressed by Fiorina's recent debate performance, where she had harsh words for Planned Parenthood. But Earnhardt has one misgiving.
I do think a man should be a leader. That's me. But I see the men not standing up. And I see the woman coming stronger. And if she's going to be the one that's going to stand up and stick to her morals, grounds, and everything and not back down, then by far I will give her my vote.
Gender is also a consideration for Carlotta Jackson, who came to see Fiorina today.
As long as it's not someone who's trying to emasculate men and that it's not just a power trip for them.
But others, like Pam Dean, are eager to see a woman front and center in the Republican Party.
I like it that she's a strong woman and that she held her own with all those men and that women can lead.
And Fiorina has been working hard to earn the support of women. She's at least the 5th GOP candidate to visit the Carolina Pregnancy Center this year. It's a place to showcase a message that could play well in the Republican primaries, though in a general election, that message would be a harder sell with female voters. Sarah McCammon, NPR News, Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Callie, I am so sorry.
What?
I forgot to wish you a happy punctuation day! !
What? Question mark? Exclamation point?
I think you mean interrobang. Used when messaging a friend about, like, a date, for example.
Like, she's wandered off and she has forgotten to tell you whether she made out with the person she was out last night. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna be like, well, and then interrobang.
That's Corey Sika, everybody. He is the co-founder of the culture blog The All. The New Yorker once said he wielded the power to change language.
And we needed him because some of our colleagues here at All Things Considered thought the period was still cool. Like, I'm looking at one at the end of this sentence. Get this away from me.
There's just whole groups of people who just don't even use a period anymore, and it just feels so free. It's like everything's a poem.
Like texting. Sika says teens are punctuating our future.
There's some 18-year-old girl now out there who is pretty much solely responsible for the way we speak, talk, and write.
Right now, the asterisk is totally where it's at. Take this tweet from an account named Cool Pond.
Asterisks interrupts friends, asterisk. Quote, you got to hear this tweet, okay. And then asterisks, realizes tweet starts with action asterisks and doesn't know how to read that out loud.
If that made no sense to you either, the All's Corey Sika says you're not alone.
I'm very, very old.
Hashtag lols, spelled with a Z.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
This is KUT 90.5. I'm Nathan Bernier. Dripping Springs is becoming known fondly by some Austin tourists as Drinking Springs because of all the wineries and breweries and distilleries. And now you can add one more to the list, Treaty Oak Distilleries is opening to the public this weekend. And here to talk about it is Texas Monthly Drinks columnist Jessica Dupuy. Hey, Jessica.
Hi, Nathan.
So the Hill Country, it's not just wineries anymore.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, not only do we have a lot of wineries to visit, but now we've got breweries and now we've got distilleries with tasting rooms.
So what distilleries have opened already?
Well,